for the last couple of years, I tried to go to at least one translator's house, one place abroad. And well, I worked my way along the Baltic Sea, more or less. I went to Gotland last year, to Visby.
Yeah.
And
Cosmo, Estonia.
No, not yet. Not yet.
It's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, but I know
Lithuania?
No, not yet.
We are the first. Yeah.
Yeah. From the Baltic states, that's right. But I know the Baltic Sea quite well. I went with a sailing boat up the Finnish coast a couple of years ago.
Are you really a translator?
Yeah, mostly. Well, by trade, I'm an editor. I worked at publishing houses, and then I edited a lot of translations, and then step by step, I just fell into the slot trying it myself. Maybe it's interesting. I translated the Infinite Jest. David, I edited the translation. It's like, have you heard of the book? David Foster Wallace, Infinite Jest?
Not yet.
No.
Not yet.
It's like, I don't know, maybe 1,200 pages. And the translator, it took him like 6 years to translate it. And I edited his translation.
You are translating from English?
From American English mostly. Yeah.
And because you've been studied also you studied American literature.
Exactly. I studied literature, and then I focused especially on American literature.
So you were interested in literature, like early interest, and very aimfully you went to that direction. And
no.
No.
As it happens often in life, I was very much interested very early on, like 14, 15, 16, because my parents had good bookshelves and with a lot of different literatures from all over the place. But my interest was from early on, like in American literature. I don't know why. One thing was, I think, I was interested in slave narratives. I liked books by James Baldwin, for example. And then I gradually, I don't know, went to Hemingway and stuff like that.
Yeah.
John Steinbeck.
We have also many reasons to love American literature, like I don't know, Allen Ginsberg in poetry, or Gary Snyder in poetry, or Richard Brautigan I like very much, and there's of course Kurt Vonnegut that we completely love. Everyone, and he was even translated in Soviet times.
That's interesting.
Maybe because of criticism, of some criticism, but Cat's Cradle was translated and printed in Soviet Latvia in 1970 or something.
That's interesting. Yeah. Maybe it's of interest of you. I translated a book written by his son. He has different sons.
Yeah.
And one son, his name is Mark Vonnegut, and he wrote a memoir. It's not a novel.
Yeah.
He works as a doctor somewhere in the United States, but early on, when he was 20 years old, he was a dropout, a hippie, took a lot of drugs, and then he got seriously mental ill. He was schizophrenia. And he wrote a novel about the hippie times in the United States and his mental ill, and he recovered. But it's a great memoir. It just published early, I think, beginning of this year in German, from the 60s.
But some years I had a concept that writers are those who want to live forever, but those who feel good the same. They can be translators with a love of literature and language. Love of language is enough. You don't. But are you really a translator? I'm repeating that question because you could write yourself, but you sort of choose not to be the first person, but you are sort of person who comes afterwards and.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly. It's no calling. It's no calling to write. I mean, if you work with language or if you translate books, you get asked the question very, very often, why don't you write? And I mean, I've done something else before I went into the literary field, which is playing the drums for a couple of years, like on a professional level, like with a band touring and so on and so forth. And everybody asked me, why don't you write about this time? You must have experienced so many funny things, which is true.
What kind of band?
As well, a rock band. Actually, they have a CD in the library next door.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh. What's the name of
H-Blocks. H-Blocks. Do you know it?
Okay. Well, labi. Yeah, really, why don't you write?
Have you heard?
Can you answer? You should then have a prepared answer. Why don't you write about that time?
Because I don't know. You could also ask. I mean, we're talking about literature here. I don't want to write like a documentary, or I don't know. I have a different concept of a good novel, or I don't know.
Yeah, and that's,
it's not autobiography or something like that.
That's the next question. Maybe then about road marks and road signs. How do you feel? How do you understand that it's a good novel?
Well, I think I would put it very easy. The first thing is, if I want to spend time on it, or if I want to spend time with a book, and I see that like immediately from the first sentence. It doesn't have so much to do like being literary or very poetic from the language-wise. Mm-hmm. Because I come maybe from an American perspective via my studies and all, I like good storytelling first. And I think that's the first step. And the second step is, how do you do it? Like, how do we find a tone, a language, vocabulary for that? But I think I'm not the typical high literature guy who says it's all about the language and we have to like find metaphors. And if it's a good, straightforward story, I'd like to hear it. That's my criteria, maybe.
I know that you are working in a strange manner, and this is also a theme that you have what it is actually. Is it a company or Adler and
Adler und Söhne. Yeah.
Adler and Söhne.
Which means Adler and Sons.
Yeah. New York Times, but you are lucky enough that New York Times are writing about you, or you just...
You found that. That's cool. That's crazy.
Yeah. Highbrow sweatshop.
A highbrow sweatshop for the stitching together of sentences. That's right.
It's somehow high and low at the same time.
That's what it is. Yeah, that's real. But let me maybe
what it is.
Yeah, tell you what it is. It's not that big of a deal, but I think we had few Americans coming to visit. It's just a shared office space. We have a very nice office, still affordable. And I share with 7 other people. They all work in the literary field. They are all authors, translators, magazine people, poets. And we basically are just, not everybody is friends with everybody, but we know each other for a long time. And if we need a new member, it's all done. It's like a process. It really has to fit within the group. So we don't just hire a journalist who needs a table and a desk and a phone. We really care about who is coming in, and then that's about chemistry, I think. And then, of course, together we have like a very good network of contacts in the publishing world.
But you are doing one thing, all of them, or each person has.
No, everybody's working for himself, but we help each other out.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe one is editing the novel of the other, or he's...
Or you just have another writers at hand all the time,
yeah.
And you are, if you feel like you have a bad day, but still you are jealous that you see that this concurrent is working, and you should like...
Well, maybe it's not a concurrent, but it feels good it feels more like a job. I mean, you have experience working alone for yourself. For me, it wasn't my cup of tea.
Sometimes it's hard to concentrate.
Yeah, besides, I mean, you have to organize your social life so much. Yeah, you stay at home all day, and then in the evening you say, I want to talk to somebody, I want to see somebody, I want to have a cup of coffee or something, and you have to call every time. You have to call somebody. Hey, you want to go for a cup of coffee? But if you, I mean, like everybody else working in an office, you have people around all day. You go for lunch, maybe, etc., etc.
At the same time, it's funny or maybe even ironic that you have a very nice way of cooperating and writing together with other people, but still you came here to work alone.
That's right. That's right. I mean, I like to travel and I like to see other places, and I mean, I like my office, but I'm spending so much time there, and you know, and authors, they travel much more. Yeah, they are invited like on reading tours, and they go wherever their translation of their novel is published. They go all over the places all the time. And as a translator, you have to care more for yourself. You have to organize things like that for yourself.
At the same time, maybe it is a good idea for writers and translators in Latvia that they create some how could we call it, creative factory.
But of course, it's very true that, and that's for me a very interesting question concerning translation, that you don't have a language for everything, that's for sure. I mean, like for classical literature, or as you said, for example, the beat poets. I'm 40 years old now. I don't know that I'm the perfect choice for a beat poet novel, because it's too long ago. Maybe a guy around 60 now, he has a better tone for Kerouac, or I don't know.
You don't think that you can change that or learn that?
I think gradually.
Yeah.
But I don't know how people like being 18 to now, a guy who is 18 now and has some kind of slang, I can maybe try to speak like him or to write like him, but I always, it's fantasy.
But you are anyway translator. It's translating.
Yeah.
You translate it anyway. So.
Yeah, but I need some kind of language for that. And it's very often it happens that you read a novel and say, wow, how old is this translator? I can see what the author means, but the translator, he didn't understand it. It's not always easy translating novels, of course, but I think for everybody it's better if it's kind of easy. Also, how do you say that? If I can write like I speak myself. If I have like a very artificial language I have to create all the time, like, yeah, but it's shaky, and so I mean I think I'm at my best if I can freely just, if I feel I know how this guy talks, and then I can just go on in German and try to capture that.
My last question will be like that. What about readers in Germany? Reading culture in Germany, how it changes now?
Well, I'm not part of the majority. I think myself, my friends, we read, of course. We are working in the literary fields. A lot of people say young people don't read anymore. I don't think so. I think a lot of young people still read, and I see that people still buying books in a big scale. But of course, there are like this new electronic readers, and but I still feel that like the publishing scene in Germany is so diverse, and it's so I mean, it's still big, and it's so many books published. I'm not afraid that the book's gonna.
Do you have sometimes that feeling that, wow, I'm so empty inside, I need to read something?
No. No, but in my case, it's, I mean, I'm constantly working on some text, so maybe it's the other way around. I really try to put myself in a position to grab a book out of the shelf and read it really with fun, and that takes sometimes, after translating a novel, it takes a while to really enjoy reading again.
Sailing, yeah.
Yeah, and sailing, yeah. Yeah, of course. Stuff like that. Gardening, for example.